I could go on for about 10 to 15 minutes for what I want to talk about right now, but I'm going to try to cut it down to a minute and a half minus what I've said right now. So for those of you that want to jump right into the game, it's at about a minute and a half. For those of you that feel like listening, welcome. I'm just going to get right to it. I didn't like uploading because I absolutely hated the amount of time it took me to render a video file. Just for a regular 1280 by 720 HD file, you know, maybe what, 10-minute video? It took me 45 minutes to get into Vegas and then out of Vegas. From the moment I hit render to the moment it was ready to upload. And I thought to myself, my graphics card and, you know, my everything else, this is not bad equipment. I've purchased it in the past 2.5, 3 years, maybe 4 at the most. Why am I getting shafted, you know, with these really bad rendering times? Turns out I was actually missing a pretty crucial file. For those of you that do video editing / rendering and are familiar with GPU accelerated rendering, I was missing the CUDA toolkit suite driver thing, if you will. I found it, installed it. My times went down from 50 minutes to 4 minutes on a like 8-minute video, which is fantastic. As you can see, that's probably, you know, 500% faster, if not more. And then for 1080p, it actually only takes a little bit longer than the video itself, but for efficiency's sake, you know, 720p on a Pokemon video is overkill. I will do that for TCGO, don't you worry, it's still pretty good, but I get to cut out a lot of rendering time, which in itself is a great motivation to get back into it. So, here we go. I happen to have a Generations tournament that I took part of a couple of months ago at the local club that I go to every Friday. Or not every Friday, but when I can and when I want to, I do. Usually on tournament days, I get some good results. So, Generations Tournament, if it's not made particularly obvious by the description and or title and or team lineup, I pick one Pokemon from every generation and I make a team out of them, and then I just go to town with it. So, my first generation Pokemon happens to be an Arcanine, just, you know, Life Orb Arcanine, all on offensive. I'm not using, you know, Morning Glory set or anything like that. But that's all recoil. That's Flare Blitz. That's Rocky Helmet. That's also Life Orb, and that's gonna be more Life Orb in the next couple of turns too. You know, I basically lost half of Pokemon, and he got a Stealth Rock up because of Sturdy. But I'm gonna go for the Extreme Speed anyway because it takes care of the 1 HP that he has left. And I'm thinking he's going to go into a Fire Resist in the first place. If not, it will do at least 1 damage, so I see no reason not to go for it. And I actually went for it expecting Victini to come in. I did not expect to get the crit. Nobody does, but hey, that was a pretty nice thing, as you're going to see in a couple of turns. Arcanine was not a complete waste because I actually did weaken his Stealth Rock setter, and I happened to weaken a thing that Scizor happens to be very weak to. So it actually segues nicely into my second generation thing, which I'm unsure if I actually spoke about what these Pokemon were in this take. So I'm about 20 takes in terms of what I wanted to say. But second generation Pokemon is a specially defensive Scizor. The third generation Pokemon is a Mega Gardevoir, which, yeah, it was between that or Scizor, and I like Gardevoir better. Special defensive Scizor really isn't too bad. Fourth generation Pokemon happens to be a physically defensive Rotom Wash, because who doesn't, you know, like Rotom Wash? Actually, that's pretty much a rhetoric question. Keep your hands down. I get the message. The fifth generation Pokemon I have going on is a Scarf Hydreigon, and the sixth generation Pokemon I have is a Citrus Berry Unburned Hawlucha, who I went from really liking the Pokemon at the beginning of the tournament to wanting this thing to be the name of my firstborn child at the end of it, because this thing pulled in a lot of weight. The Scizor did too. All these Pokemon did really well together. You know, it's not an ideal team that you can take on the showdown ladder and, you know, hit like 1900s in a day or whatever, but given the meta that there was for this, you know, slightly restricted, but it was fun for something I slapped together the night before. It really wasn't bad. So I'm going to switch out knowing that a fire type move is coming from this thing after I have taken out his Fortress and his Victini. The Victini was taken out with a Bullet Punch just because of the fact that I got a critical hit. Without that prior damage on it, I don't think I would have been able to knock it out because, you know, I'm not offensively invested. I took a huge gamble here as well, by the way, thinking that he was Choice Scarfed instead of Life Orb, because the Victini could have very well been Choice Banded, but we don't do damage calcs in front of each other because that's really kind of rude, and that's really only a thing you reserve for online, I guess. But I'm going to set up a sub because I want to get an early setup on this thing. and I'm actually just going to go ahead and try to get my citrus berry going on. But set up a sub right here. Unsure as to what kind of shenanigans I was going for. I think he was at a lowered amount of HP thanks to the Dark Pulse, so an acrobatics from the range of HP that it's at should be able to knock it out if I'm remembering correctly what this thing did. I don't think it did a lot per se in this game, but it was the first time I had used one of these in a really long time, so I was like, let's try it, let's see where we go. So get my citrus berry, get my unburn boost. I should be able to outspeed a really good portion of his team as he just keeps going for ice beam because he has no reason to go for fire blast. Earth power doesn't affect me. Not sure what his fourth move is. It's more than likely Sludge Wave. It has no reason to be Superpower, Earthquake, or anything weird like that. But go for an Acrobatics from half HP. Hawlucha's a little bit weak, but it's not that weak. It's able to pick up the KO on Nidoking from half HP. And we move on. So Gotcha Man is actually going to happen to be his Staraptor here, which I believe is a banded one, which is why I'm actually going to go ahead and sub up just to see what move it wants to go for. If it wants to go for a U-turn to potentially scare me off. The U-turn I don't think would be able to break my sub unless it was banded. You know, actually no, that might be ×4 resistant. I'm not 100% on that. Go for an Acrobatics, and I actually get a critical hit on this one. Definitely mattered a lot. This was his wall breaker. This was his banded user. Everybody remembers back in Gen 4 what a potent threat that was, and now it has gone to a Gen 6 bird, which is, you know, all hail Lucha Libre, right? But Diance's going to come in, which I personally think should have come in sooner. If not before Staraptor, then he would have still had a Staraptor. I don't have a reliable way of knocking this out without a Swords Dance, so I'm just going to go for a Drain Punch to see how much it does. It's neutral damage. It does around, I kind of want to say 40%. It's a shame I wasn't really able to get a Swords Dance up at any point in time, but to be fair, given the team lineup, I don't think I would have been able to get one anyways. So we have better opportunities in different games, so it just wasn't great for Hawlucha, but he got a crit, so it wasn't that bad. On the other hand, Diancie does happen to be ×4 weak to steel, so even a non-offensively invested Scizor with a Bullet Punch will be able to do serious damage and actually knock it out from that range. Pretty sure I could do that from full 2, just because it did take the defensive hits. So, not sure if I could do that to a regular Diancie. Don't quote me on that. I've been out of practice for a while. But just going to go for a Bullet Punch on this thing to see what it wants to do. It's going to put something to sleep, so I might as well just let it do this, and then I can go into, I believe, my Gardevoir Mega from there and have some good things happen. Because I feel like he may go for a Swords Dance while I'm asleep. The odds of him going for Bullet Seed are really low because I do ×4 resist that. And it's actually nice, now that I think about it, that I get to go into a ×4 pivot for his other offensive move, which does happen to be Mach Punch. So it eases my prediction game a little bit. He's not going to want to go for Bullet Seed on that. And if he wants to go for a Mach Punch, I'm going to ×4 resistant on Gardevoir, which I feel like was a little redundant, but I hope my point got across. I get to Mega right here. If he wants to get some sure damage off and he does not happen to be Sash, he's going to have to go for Mach Punch again. But I do go for... Oh, you know what? He can't be... Even if he was Sash, I broke it with the Bullet Punch. So I'm actually kind of glad I did that. And I'm able to just drop it straight with a Hyper Voice. And that is the end of the game there. We actually did not see... I don't think we saw Rotom there, but it's okay. We know Rotom does. So that's the end of the game. I really hope you guys are going to enjoy this series that I have going on. I actually no longer have access to the Versus Recorder custom backgrounds that I had going on. I'm going to see if there's a way for me to get those back up. But for now, I'm just going to, you know, take quantity over quality. And I mean, the videos look fine without it anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But TCGO, hopefully in the near future, now that that is... in order in terms of the rendering times. TCGO videos were a nightmare. Those would take me for like a 50-minute session. They would take me somewhere around an hour and a half to 2 hours to render, and I would have to pray that my computer didn't crash in the middle of that. But now that my graphics card is actually properly taking the burden off of rendering times, I'm able to get that probably in like an hour instead at the max, you know, for 1080p. If I wanted to do 720, which is barely legible, I could get that done in like half the time. But better quality videos, you know, for just these regular Wi-Fi battles, these will now always be in 1080p for the duration of me uploading them whenever I can get to them. And the TCGO, I believe, will also be in 1080, or maybe the Wi-Fi battles will be just 720, just to get them out faster. I don't know. Point is I've now actually tapped into what my computer can actually do now that my program knows how to talk to my hardware. And I'm excited to be uploading again. So with that in mind, I got this for you, and this should hopefully be up in a timely manner. But I've got the rest of the series to go, which is a couple more games, and then I've still got some more content left over, like maybe 2 more tournaments worth of battles too. So that's gonna do it out of me, and I will see you guys on the next one later.